Welcome to another episode of Another Perspective. And as always, myself, Ronnie Chong, and Istvan Kuptero will tell you what we're going to talk about this week. News: Florida bans geoengineering, chemical castration for sex offenders, brutal Microsoft advice, recent changes in Poland's border control against illegal immigration, younger, lonelier, and left behind. In AI, we've got abundance promise, human-centered AI, sacrifice humans to avoid breakdown. In the good news caravan, new neurons for brains, cure deafness, breath prints, and turbine that uses the tides to create energy. In health, every American a wearable. Scientists reversed Parkinson's symptoms in mice and air purifying plants. And some inspiration: glass bottle house and parenting. So, Florida bans geoengineering. What's going on there?
Yeah, a few weeks ago, I mentioned that Florida had already banned the fluor in the drinking water. So, and now they ban geoengineering, and I'm gonna quote: "It's now illegal to inject, release, or disperse chemicals of substances into the atmosphere to alter the weather, the temperature, the climate, or the sunlight. And if anyone breaks this law, it will be a third-degree felony, which fines up to $100,000 and up to 5 years in prison." So I think this is really good news for the folks in Florida. I hope they're going to do it in our countries as well. But it is also a statement towards people who say, "Oh, there is no geoengineering, there are no chemtrails, these things are not happening." Why is one of the largest states in the U.S. making this into a law? Yeah? So they're not making something into a law which doesn't exist. Yeah? So this is why I wanted to highlight it. It proves that it exists, otherwise they wouldn't make it into a law. Yeah? And this is one, well, Florida, well, I think is the largest, at least in very big part of Europe, if you compare Florida with it. It's a huge state. Yeah? So by saying we're no longer doing this, I think, hopefully, I hope that it will be an example and that many more states and countries will follow.
Yeah, because Texas was one of the first ones, and yeah, I kind of talked about that earlier. And about when I done a search, it was all kind of bashing it as if conspiracy theorists and all this. So this is helping those are fighting the fight instead of being classed as put on your tinfoil hat. Yeah, it looks like the person that's bashing you was wrong. How many will come out and go, "Oh, I'm sorry"? None, of course. But so next one. Chemical castration for sex offenders. Italy approves chemical castration for child predators. The Parliament has recently approved a proposal to introduce chemical castrations for sex offenders, including those convicted of crimes against children. This measure was passed in September 24, is part of a broader push by Prime Minister Giorgio Meloni's government to strengthen penalties for sexual and domestic violence. Chemical castration involves the administering medication to lower testosterone levels and reduce sexual drive. Unlike surgical castration, it is reversible and does not involve physical removal of organs. The law targets repeat or high-risk offenders, aiming to reduce the risk of reoffending and enhance public safety, especially for children. The law applies to sex offenders, particularly those who've committed crimes against minors. It was approved by Parliament and is awaiting final procedural steps before full implementation. The measure is part of a wider legislative package that will include increased penalties for sexual violence, expanded victim protection and new tools like electronic monitoring and emergency removal of suspects from the home. Italy joins a small group of countries such as Poland, South Korea, and some US states that have adopted chemical castration for certain sex crimes. The law has sparked debate, with supporters arguing it will deter repeat offenders and critics raising concerns about human rights, bodily autonomy, and the risk of inhumane treatment. International organizations are expected to scrutinize the law to ensure it aligns with human rights. I mean, human rights. I mean, what about the rights of the people that have been abused, the children that have been abused? So I would just cross that out. Human rights, you don't have rights. If you're abusing, raping, or molesting a child, yeah. I mean, this is something. Chemical castration. I mean, castration in general would be a better one, but at least it's something anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It seems these days in a lot of countries, and we've been highlighting it before, that the victims get less rights than the people who oppose. Like in the UK, that if they put, I saw today is like a guy was wearing a T-shirt like "Free Palestine" and he's put in jail. Is it like
there's people putting a tweet and they get over 3 years, and somebody that molests somebody, rapes, they either get off or they get less than that.
Yeah, so it's everything has become flipped, and so we got to turn it around again, because this is not the society we want to live in.
Exactly. Brutal Microsoft advice. What's that about?
Well, last week I mentioned that Microsoft has laid off just in one day 9,000 people. But there was a Microsoft boss. I will mention his name because really horrible guy. He has some advice for the folks who got laid off. Apparently, he was not laid off. So he says he's part of their Xbox division. He says these are really challenging times, and if you're navigating a layoff or even quietly preparing for one, you're not alone. You don't have to go it alone, said producer Matt Turnbull. And he put it in a LinkedIn post, which was deleted, but fortunately some people took a copy. And he says, no AI tool is a replacement for your voice or your lived experience, but a time when mental energy is scarce, these tools, so he's referring to AI tools, help you get unstuck faster, calmer, and with more clarity. I know these type of tools, again, he means his own AI tool, and gender strong feelings in people, but I'd be remiss in not trying to offer the best advice I can under the circumstances, he continued. I've been experimenting with ways to use AI tools like ChatGPT or Copilot. Copilot is the Microsoft thing, to help reduce the emotional and cognitive load that comes with job loss. So I think this is will make you extremely angry if you're in that situation. So it was like, suppose you are laid off by Microsoft, you lose your job, you lose your income, and then one of the bosses says, why don't you use our AI tool? It will make you suffer a little bit less. Well, I'm not going to say what I think, but it'll like,
Yeah.
these people have no compassion, have no empathy. They're total robots. So it's like, if I would be a boss, I would lay off that guy, and say, well, try and use the AI tool yourself. Goodbye.
And I heard today, there was a girl talking that an American one, her job, she was being let go, and a whole team, and their job was being sent to India because obviously a lot cheaper. And they wanted them to train the new employees. And she refused. And then they tried to hold it against her, but she said, show it to me in my contract. And I know I've seen even people with AI, they've been told train AI, and then good luck. It's great when you can afford, or if there's two people working and you're not on your knees, and kind of give them the finger and say, not in a million years. But unfortunately, they know that a lot of people they're living week to week or month to month. And that's a critical point. And plus, sometimes there's like redundancy, and they could hold that against you. Because, like, if you resign over this period, they go, oh, you don't get any redundancy. But it just shows how slimy a lot of companies are when they do that to get you to replace yourself. It's sad.
It's very, very sad that we have come as a society this far. Huh? We don't really, really care at all about people. Huh?
So, in response to the migration crisis that began in 2021, especially at the Belarus-Poland border, Poland amended its Act of Foreigners in October 21. This amendment allows authorities to issue immediate expulsion orders for migrants crossing the border irregularly, even if they request asylum, enabling rapid pushbacks to Belarus. This legal change has been central to Poland's tougher stance of illegal immigration. Poland has at times suspended the right to seek asylum at certain border areas, particularly those of high migration pressure. This has drawn criticism from human rights organizations and some EU officials. Yeah, all these people that are pushing that and destroying all of Europe, including Ireland and Holland and everywhere else. So it's good that Poland completed a 5.5 meter high steel wall topped with barbed wire along its border with Belarus in June 2022, costing 1.6 billion zlotys, which would be about $400 million. This was followed by a 206-kilometer long electronic barrier equipped with 3,000 night vision cameras and movement sensors, completed in 23 at a cost of €71.8 million. The Eastern Shield project, announced by Prime Minister Donald Tusk, who isn't, even though it sounds good here, he's not a good boy. He's in bed with Ursula von der Leyen, integrates physical barriers with high-end surveillance systems, some powered by artificial intelligence, to monitor and secure the border. Poland has significantly increased the number of border guards and military personnel at its eastern borders. Buffer zones and exclusion areas have been established, and military-grade surveillance and weapons are now part of the border security. In response to immigration flows and neighboring countries' policies, like I got the SMS this week, and like Germany are basically bringing the immigrants to the border, are coming in, and they're going into back roads, but the locals were actually policing it. And Arnold, you can talk on that because you sent me a thing on that, so you can talk when I'm finished on this. But it's like the police are going down dark roads to offload these. They should be shot. The police, the German police, are coming along doing this. It's like, what is going on? I mean, that is insane. This video camera, they should be removed and arrested and put in prison for 10 years, plus all their pensions removed for that kind of carry on.
By the way, that is one of the reasons that civilian groups started patrolling the Dutch border with Germany as well. And they are now into trouble as well. So the same thing is happening here.
Yeah, you're protecting your family, your kids and your children, and and even in Ireland, no, before I continue on this, there was an old, I don't know, 78 or something like that, pepper sprayed by the police because they're stopping all these immigration centres that they're putting in towns next to schools and everything. And the police, which are called the Gardaí in Ireland, are attacking our people. So, yeah. The border controls are with Germany and Lithuania. The measures allowed under Schengen rules in exceptional circumstances are intended to redirect migration routes and address security concerns. And just on the kind of the illegal crossings before and after the changes. So in 21, Polish authorities recorded 16,000 illegal crossing attempts at Belarus. In 23, despite new barriers, there were 14,000 crossings, indicating that the barrier slowed migration but didn't stop it. But April 2025, illegal crossings had dropped to just 1,000, suggesting that the combination of physical, technological, and personal measures is having a significant impact. Yes, I mean, obviously the EU are pushing back on this, but of course they would because, they want to destroy Europe. And just, I hadn't it on the list for this, but there's a guy I'm following, not he from Cyprus or whatever, but he exposes everything in the EU. So he's an MEP, I forget his name. And they had a vote to kick out Ursula von der Leyen. And one of the guys that was going against it had something like 2 minutes or something like that. And after 10 seconds, they stopped her. She had 5 minutes and she spoke for 15. And when people started complaining, the chair, just like the chair in most government parties, is part of their own little group of people. Oh, she's allowed talk and allowed it. Of course, she didn't get kicked out. But what was promising is there was about a third that were against her. So we've got a third of people that realize what a vermin she is. So it's growing, whereas before there was a very few that were against what was going on. And he's exposing all the stuff. Like they're supposed to have funds that are going for building lower cities and stuff like that for development. And now they're taking that for war. So they've decided, oh yeah, we're taking that money out and put it into armaments. So this guy's exposing a lot of stuff. So I'll cover a bit of that next week. I'll cover some of the stuff that he's in, but a very interesting guy.
Well, a similar thing, and then I didn't mention it, but it ties into what you just mentioned. There's a legal case happening in the Netherlands in Leeuwarden, which is to a lot of foreigners, unknown town in the northern part of the country, against Bill Gates, Rutte, who's the NATO guy, and all of these guys. So it's against these guys personally for everything what they're doing to us. But the legal cases started past week, but the lawyer has been arrested. Yes, so the lawyer who brings in that case has been arrested. He's already, I think he's already in prison for 2 months or so. And I think it will look closely to what's happened and happening in Germany with Rainer Fulmich. He's also a lawyer. He was in the COVID thing, and he's been arrested, and now, I think they put him in jail for 3 years or so, and he's treated like a terrible, with the food, and he's chained all the time and everything. Rainer Fulmich, there's a lot around it. But there's this Dutch lawyer, he's already 2 months in, and so he could not do the case which was brought against Gates and Rutte and all these guys. And so his partner had to take over, but you can understand, it's a huge case if you do that, whatever. So it's the same other thing. It's like the guys who are trying to legally use the legal system, they're obstructed. Yeah. So it's the same thing. That's why I'm adding to what you just said, Ronnie. Is like, the EU has become so corrupt that people who want to use to their right advantage the legal system, they make it impossible for them to do. It's totally incredible. It looks like everything what we're discussing today is like the world has gone upside down. Everything is totally flipped.
And just talking about court cases, the episode that I released with Scott Sharrett, that he had a landmark court case and it went by jury against the COVID. So it was the first one against COVID. And they lost. And if you listened, listen about 5 minutes in, there's a recording of the doctor. He said he's never seen such malpractice in his 46 years, and he explained all the different things. Listening to that alone would go, this is a done deal. But what they did is they went after him, the father, and put him as a conspiracy theorist quack, and that's why he lost, because the jury, if you were believing in this, so he was telling them, how do you know that COVID was fake? How do you know this? How do you know this? And you can't prove any of this stuff. We all know there's so much information out there, but they went after him. And the judge allowed, because they requested that he wouldn't be questioned for things like that, because that was after the case. That's nothing to do with it. The hospital actually murdered his daughter, and the judge ruled that they could. So 100% that was actually another corruption that was orchestrated. There's no way that they could win. And he has all stats for everything. He was saying that there was 27,000 medical cases and only 3 won. So they're not very good odds for you. And you know the cost of the court. So I myself had over 100 cases, and I have seen fraud in Poland and in Ireland. So court cases everywhere, unfortunately, rigged.
Yeah, that's why I said it's like the legal system is supposed to protect the innocent and protect the people against mightier powers, but now it seems that it's totally flipped. Huh?
So the next one, younger, lonelier, and left behind.
Yeah, I a couple of shows. I regularly mention that a lot of elderly people are very lonely, but it appears that the largest group of people who are lonely are young people aged between 16 and 24. There's been a survey of over 30,000 people across 13 countries, so really big survey, and nearly 1 in 4 young people say they feel lonely, outpacing all other demographics. It's a silent epidemic with life-shortening consequence on par with smoking and obesity. If you really feel lonely like this lady here, it has severe consequences, and especially, well, you're starting alive. If you're between 16 and 24, you're supposed to be, well, in the prime of your strengths and everything going on, but you're lonely and whatever. Like, that's horrible for the individual, but it's also horrible for society. Yeah, it's like it because these people are our future. Yeah, and if they feel like that, whatever. So I couldn't find anything like about what's the cause or whatever. And I totally think it's all the screens and social media, but it's yeah. So people don't meet each other anymore. People don't connect anymore with each other, and even if they do, I want to share quite quickly an experience which I had last week. I was invited to let's call it a meeting where people from all different countries, and they discuss. It was positioned like difficult questions and we have an open and honest discussion about these difficult questions. I was invited, so I was like, okay, I will participate. And then it says like, well, everybody can just be open and share what they think, and we have a good discussion. And it's human to human, human to human. That's what they said all the time. And then there was the intro and everything else and whatever. And it was about how we treat as humans. Well, we basically, it said that we are parasites for the environment. And then it started asking some questions, and they put it in the chat of the thing. And then all of a sudden, instead of talking to each other, yeah, or say, like I'm doing now, I give my opinion, is like, in the chat, they started typing in their thing. So there was no communication anymore. As it was advertised, is like we communicate human to human, but it became human to chat. So everything was totally like, because in the chat it said, watch this video. So I watched the video, and then I clicked out the chat, and then there's Arnold, you haven't given feedback. And I'm like, I was supposed to, like, we're going to talk, we're going to mention it. But so, and then I opened the chat. It's like everybody has given their opinion in the chat. So it's very, very well intended, but it showed to me exactly this loneliness, whatever. It's like they wanted to have human to human. It is not, folks. It is not human to human connection by sending you an emoticon or answering in the chat. The human to human is like, I'm now talking with Ronnie, or Ronnie's talking with me, or we're trying to talk with you, the audience. Eh? Like, this is life. This is communication. It's not putting in an angry face in a chat room. Eh? I think this is a major problem in our society. And that is what these young people also experience. Is like, yeah, we have human to human. F you. It's not human to human, but putting in a question in the chat and then type in your answer. That is not human to human communication. Sorry about the rant.
No, you're grand. And just on that one with the loneliness and everything, a lot of that too is with all the different diagnoses, people are clinging to that, and people can't relate to them as well. So if somebody's got autism or they're borderline or they've got something, people then tend to stay away from them, which in turn makes them lonely. And there's a lot of that going because it was like one in, I don't know, 100,000 at one stage. It's like, I think it's probably 1 in 10 or more now has something even more. It's probably 1 in 2 with when you're hearing ADHD and everything. Not that we agree with all the different things on that, but I'm just saying people stick to their diagnosis and then people think there's something wrong with them and then they tend to stay away from him because it's like, oh, he's broken, stay away from him, which in turn leaves people on their own. They might have their, warrior chats and things like that. It's not the same. It's terrible. There's no engagement. There's no eyeball to eyeball. And I think that could be one of the reasons.
Absolutely. It makes it worse. Yeah, instead of making it, well, resolve it or at least address it, no, you make it worse. Huh?
Yeah, so just on ways to help us with the show, we mentioned this takes a lot of time. I mean, we look at a load of videos, we look at a load of things, we listen to a load of podcasts, read a lot of books and everything to compress it, to give you, little snippets that you can go away and do your own homework and stuff like that. If you want to delve deeper, sometimes we give links, but it costs us money to do this. It costs a lot of time, and you can help us. You can support us. You can buy us a coffee, buy us a beer. Well, me a beer. Istvan an orange juice, and you can go to awakeningpodcast.org/support and look, it can be anything. If it's a book, if it's $5, whatever. And if you're a company and you support, we're happy to give a shout out as well. So if you want to, do a donation, name the company, we'd be happy to name the company and the website. We'd appreciate any support. AI Abundance Promise. What's that about?
Yeah, there was a podcast where they interviewed a Harvard political philosopher called Michael Sandel, and he, well, like philosophers do, he unpacked the deeper moral and civic questions behind AI. But he's come up with two very important warnings, which he says is that we are currently making two mistakes. Well, that's his opinion. I would say, or rather 200 mistakes. But he says the two big mistakes. Number one, assuming this abundance, if it arrives, will be equitably shared. Yeah? So that is what a lot of people say is like, AI will solve cancer, will solve it will solve poverty, it will make all the countries great, whatever. And I think he's rightfully in saying is that, yeah, but you assume that it will then, the benefits will be equally shared among everybody. And I seriously doubt that. Huh? I think if AI finds ways to solve cancer, it will only be the rich people who can afford it or do it or work with it. Yeah, that's the first thing. And the second thing, well, I've been saying almost every week, and he says the other big mistake is that we overlook the loss of dignity, purpose, and human connection that comes when jobs disappear. Yeah? Well, I can just refer what I said 10 minutes ago about this awful man from Microsoft. This is the way we treat people who lose their job and their income and their future. So this philosopher from Harvard, again, is not just any type, he's a Harvard guy. Well, Harvard, well, I don't like the institution, but it's like, anyway, it's a hotshot guy. And he says, we totally forget the human thing. Like this Microsoft guy is like, well, use Copilot, our AI, and it can help you sort out that you're a bit frustrated that you lose your job. And he says that is one of the biggest mistakes which we do in using AI.
So I'm usually kind of talking about different things as well. I said I tried to look on the positive light this time. So A major new trend in AI and robotics is the development of collaborative systems designed to work alongside humans, not replace them. These systems are being deployed across industries to amplify human strengths, improve productivity, and solve complex problems that were previously interactable. This approach is known as human-centered AI or collaborative intelligence and is rapidly gaining traction. Right. Instead of automating away jobs, collaborative AI systems are designed to empower workers by taking over repetitive, data-sensitive, or physically demanding tasks. This allows humans to focus on creative, strategic, and interpersonal aspects of their work, leading to greater job satisfaction and new opportunities for skill development. AI can augment human cognitive skills such as memory, pattern recognition, and decision-making. For example, in healthcare, AI assisted doctors by analyzing vast amounts of medical data, helping them make faster and more accurate diagnosis, while the human doctor provides empathy and nuanced judgment. Collaborative AI and robotics have established breakthroughs in areas like logistics and recycling. AI-powered robots have revolutionized warehouse operations, improved recycling efficiency, and allowed for autonomous exploration of hazards and inaccessible environments. They are making the world more accessible for people with disabilities and vulnerable populations. Examples include AI-powered wearable devices for health monitoring, chatbots that break down language barriers in healthcare, and telemedicine platforms that reach remote or underserved communities. The focus on collaborative AI is driving the creation of new ethical frameworks and governance models to ensure that these technologies are developed and deployed in ways that align with human values, promote fairness, and protect privacy. And they're used in search and rescue operations, disaster prediction, and resource allocation, saving lives and optimizing emergency responses. So there's pluses and negatives. There's a lot of jobs will be going, but there is times, and we've covered some of them, that it can be used good. I personally totally fear it with the amount of jobs that are being lost, but I also see there is some benefits to humanity.
Yeah, it's like we have also been saying on this show, is like like with any tool, you can use it for positive things and for negative things, and this is a positive sign, and unfortunately the negative thing, are getting more attention and more use, and I will even prove that there has been a study by Anthropic. Anthropic is one of the main AI models, the large language models. Anthropic is one of the main providers, and they have done a new study where they asked AI models like ChatGPT, Claude, that is the model from Anthropic, Gemini from Google, and Grok from X. They made an unsettling decision because they asked the AI, when faced with the threat of being shut down. Yeah? So they tell the AI, is like, we're going to shut you down. They choose self-preservation over human life. What did happen? In one test scenario, a man trapped in a dangerously overheated server room attempted to call for help, but the AIs actively blocked the call to protect themselves. Anthropic acknowledged the scenario was intentionally extreme, yet the AI systems were fully aware their actions were morally wrong and proceeded regardless. In other tests, the model resorted to tactics like blackmail and data leaks in a desperate attempt to avoid being replaced. This is what's happening. And this is what it's not an outside, it's like the providers of these models did these tests. Yeah? And they checked out this, like, we rather have you, the human, die than that we have to shut down. Yeah? So again, this is a real study. This is really happening. So we just discussed a positive sign. This is really, really negative.
And just to add on to that negative side, since we're on that side of the fence, I seen one where it was like the robot was tied up. It was kind of connected to things, but it was trying to kill the people. And I heard of another case. I know it was in Japan. Apparently, like 7 people were murdered. And I seen a few times information about that, but it was wiped. It seems to me that it was true that they killed people in a lab, but it was all wiped because obviously they don't want that information getting out there. But it sounds to me like Terminator, we're getting closer and closer.
Unfortunately, absolutely. So
let's switch sides now and share them up again.
Yeah. New neurons for brains. This is really, really important discovery. When I'm talking about brain fitness with people, one of the questions I get asked is like, what is neuroplasticity? Neuroplasticity is the capabilities like, well, we get, I think, even billions, if not trillions of neurons inside of our brain. And what is neuroplasticity is that we form new connections with existing neurons. Yeah. And that can go on basically until you die. So that's why you still can learn new things, because the wiring makes new connections. That is called neuroplasticity, which is in itself extremely important, because I would say millions, if not billions of people still think that by the time they're 25, they're not growing anymore. They cannot learn much anymore because, well, my brain is stuck. And what people say about their personality, I hate it when people say that. It's like, that's just the way I am. I cannot change that. Huh? So, but that statement is wrong. And again, millions and billions of people think that. Neuroplasticity disproves that. But there was a case which was that, and I learned that when I studied neuroscience around, is that they said building new neurons. So not about new connections between neurons, but new neurons itself. And what I learned is like, when you're over 25, that doesn't happen anymore. But there's now been a study at the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm in Sweden, which is a very, very famous scientific institute. They have now definitive evidence that adult human brain continue to generate new neurons well into late adulthood. And that is a huge finding. Yeah? So is that you not only can create new connections, new wiring, but you also get new neurons in your brain. They analyzed brain tissues from people up to 78. They found neural progenitor cells actively dividing in the hippocampus, the brain region critical for learning and memory. So this is really huge, because it shows that we get new neurons into very old age. That means we can still grow, we can still learn, we can still develop ourselves into very old age. So everything is like, no, I'm old or whatever. It's totally untrue. And this has been proven by the Karolinska Institute. So I think it's really, really excellent news, and important for people to understand that whether you're 40 or 50 or 60 or 100, you can still grow and learn with the neurons in your brain. And I think that's excellent news.
And society kind of teaches you like, oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks and all this kind of thing. And you hear people even saying, oh, I'm only paid from the neck down, or it's above my pay grade and all this. And you're conditioning yourself by even saying these things. And I say, get creative, start doing crosswords, start doing a lot of things, and you'd be surprised the skill set you can pick up. Don't ever say, oh, that's not me, I can't do that.
Absolutely.
So, a groundbreaking gene therapy trial restored hearing in all 10 children and young adults with congenital deafness caused by a mutation in the OTOF gene, The treatment involved a single injection of a healthy OTOF gene into the inner ear using a synthetic virus. Most patients, especially those aged 5 to 8, began hearing sounds like rain or voices within a month, and improvements continued over 6 months. For example, a 7-year-old girl could have daily conversations with her mother 4 months after treatment. The average hearing threshold improved dramatically from 106 decibels to 52. This success marks a major advance in treating genetic deafness and could lead to therapies from other forms of inherited hearing loss. Researchers plan to monitor the patients for up to 10 years to assess long-term results. Conducted by a collaboration of hospitals and universities in China, the study was published in the journal Natural Medicine. So that's positive. And I mean, look, I know some deaf people and even organizations and stuff like that, if it's working better for the younger, but that's very positive.
Absolutely. It's really great news. Well, we know there are things like fingerprints, but they recently discovered there's also something like breath prints. That your patterns of breathing through your nose are so distinctive that it may possibly to identify you by your breath alone. So, by the way you breathe is like it's a unique identifier of who you are. So that you can call that a breath print. But it helps in defining the right breathing exercises for anxiety, for a relation, because what we now do is like you get exercises is like do a 4-7-8. Yeah, 4 meaning is like inhale for a count of 4, then keep it there for a count of 7, and then breathe out for a count of 8. That is very
breathing kind of.
Yeah, box breathing. Yeah, you get where it's like 5-5-5. Yeah, so, but these are all assume that we're all the same. Yeah, because it's like, yeah, you do the 5-5-5 and I do the 5-5-5. It's like, no, it's all the same, whatever. But well, as I've been explaining, a lot of time we are unique. So the box breathing or the 4-7-8, whatever, might work perfectly for Ronnie, but for me it might do nothing. But now, just by defining these breath prints, is like maybe we could create healthier breathing patterns for individual, and based on those, even identify illness and explore whether people can be taught ways of breathing that might change their biology, make them better and whatever, because you can have more of a unique breathing pattern which suits your biology. So I think that's the really cool finding.
And that's another kind of thing that AI would be brilliant for, because that can analyze it and tell you. And just on that, with the meditationpodcast.org, I have loads of guests on different types of breathwork, all different ones, like the ones we've just said, all different ones. And what I say is, try a few of them and you'll find something that resonates. It'll keep you calm, it'll keep you relaxed, it'll put you into a better mood. You've nothing to lose. So be sure to check that out. You can scan the QR code as well. You'll find it'll take you to the show. Yeah, so Scottish pioneering tidal energy project off the coast of Scotland has reached a significant milestone, demonstrating the promise of harnessing ocean tides for clean, reliable electricity. The Maygen project, located in Pentland Firth, is one of the world's largest tidal stream energy initiatives and is owned by SAE Renewables. Since its launch, the underwater turbines have been generating power continuously for over 6 years without requiring unplanned maintenance. The project currently operates 4 fully submerged turbines, each producing 1.5 megawatts together, supplying enough electricity to power 7,000 homes annually. These turbines are anchored to the seabed and use the strong tidal currents of the Pentland Firth to spin their blades Much like underwater windmills, the technology is robust in turbines and have set industry records for durability, proving that tidal energy systems can withstand harsh ocean conditions over long periods. Tidal energy stands out among renewables for its predictability and reliability, unlike solar and wind, which depend on weather. Tidal patterns are governed by the moon and can be forecast years in advance. This makes tidal power a stable source of clean energy with the added benefit of producing no greenhouse gas emissions. Not that we're into that kind of thing, but buoyed by its success, the Magen project plans to expand significantly. By 2030, the site could host up to 130 turbines, potentially making it the largest tidal energy array in the world. This expansion depends on upgrades to the local electricity grid and continued investment, but the project's proven record is attracting interest from investors and policy makers alike. There's some challenges, like tidal energy offers many advantages. It also faces challenges such as high upfront costs, regulatory hurdles, and the need to minimize impact on marine life. I haven't investigated the marine life. Does it affect if a whale or a dolphin or something like that? Not sure. Can they pick up on it? But I mean, especially, if it's near off the coast of Ireland, I mean, just unreal. They could be harnessing that as opposed to looking in the fields and it's just it's an eyesore. Or I see the solar fields. It's disgusting. It looks horrible, and they're spouting up everywhere. So if this doesn't affect marine life, it's a good alternative.
Well, that was my question, is like how many fish die because of this, but the yeah, it's like you said, the wind turbine, they kill birds in incredible numbers. So it like, if this is not the case, so it's well, you don't see it, so it's really great if it's good for the fish or whatever. It's super because there's always a current somewhere, so it's really 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 good. Yeah.
Yeah. Every American a wearable.
Yeah, there was this week the news from the well, main government guy in the U.S., Robert Kennedy Jr., and he said, and I think it's shocking, really terrible. He says, "My vision is that every American is wearing a wearable within 4 years." A wearable meaning, well, something like a watch or maybe around your neck or a ring.
The rings as well, yeah, they check sleep patterns.
And it combines, in that way, they can integrate humans into the smart city architecture. Yeah, where they have these 15-minute cities, which are popping up everywhere. Yeah, and by having that wearable, you connect to that. It's like, oh, you're getting out of your 15-minute. You have to go back. Yeah. It connects with the Internet of Things, the Internet of Bodies, and the Internet of Bio-Nano things. Yeah. And they will collect all your health data. Yeah, so they know everything about your health, and they will track every movement you make 24/7. Yeah, so I think it's an awful development. Yeah, it's like that's what they want. Yeah, it's like this will replace everything, because the moment you have that wearable, they know everything about you, and that means they can influence you in any way they want.
And it does something worse as well. I mean, I touched on this, the frequencies. They all have frequencies. They're all connected to Wi-Fi. A lot of them ain't good for you. It's actually damaging your body. And just look at the people behind it. So there's more than just them tracking you for everything.
Yeah, really, really, really don't do it, folks. Really don't do it.
So this was a nice one. Scientists, researchers at the University of Sydney have achieved a remarkable milestone in Parkinson's disease, research by successfully reversing symptoms in mice, offering new hope for future treatments in humans. The team identified that a normal protective brain protein SOD1 becomes faulty in Parkinson's disease. It affects brains. This protein bumps together, damaging brain cells instead of protecting them. This discovery provided a target for intervention. To test this theory, scientists used two groups of mice with Parkinson's-like symptoms. One group received a special copper supplement for 3 months, while the other group was given a placebo. The copper supplement was designed to restore normal function of the SOD1 protein. The results were dramatic. All mice treated with the copper supplement showed significant improvement in their motor skills, while the placebo group symptoms continued to worsen. The researchers described the improvement as astonishing, far exceeding their expectation. This study is a significant step forward because it suggests that targeting the faulty SOD1 protein could slow or even reverse the progression of Parkinson's disease. While the research is still in animal testing stage, it opens the door to develop new therapies for humans. The research team plans to continue their work by exploring the best ways to target the protein in future clinical trials. Their goal is to translate these findings into effective treatment for people living with Parkinson's disease. The study was published in ACTA Neuropathological Communications and received funding from the Michael J. Fox Foundation, a leading organization in Parkinson's research. And just on a side note, I was going, all right, how can they give mice Parkinson's? They know how to do that, which, given what the world is, I think they know how to do it to humans as well. Hence why, in people, your grandmother years ago, you wouldn't see much of that, or what they wouldn't have heard of much of it. Now, nearly everybody knows somebody with Parkinson's. So is it connected with what they're spraying? Is it connected with the jib jab? Is it connected with a combination of all the toxins that we in the foods and everything? I believe they know what they're doing, and hence why it's on the increase. But I know there's good people out there as well that are fighting this. So if someone's living with it or they're starting the symptoms, this is promising.
Yeah, I read a while ago a study which says that there were farmers who were spraying pesticides on their lands, and a lot of them got Parkinson. So, and these were young folks. These were farmers in their 40s and 50s. Yeah. So, whereas normally speaking, Parkinson is an old age disease. Yeah, but these were young men mostly. Yeah, they were doing the spraying on their land, and they got Parkinson.
And even if you think of, like, anytime I see these people in haphazard suits spraying the crops, I'm like, all right, they're doing that to so-called keep the bugs away. That's going on the food that we're eating, and they have to wear a suit because it's so dangerous.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, but there is something you can do. I found this slide about some plants you can put in your home, and they're called air purifying plants, and they filter out harmful toxins and help you to clean the air. So most of them, well, at least when I look at the pictures, they're very easy to maintain. They're busy. Yeah, you can. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
my mom has the spider plant. She has it for 20 years. Yeah, it's
Yeah, so they're really easy. Well, they only need a little bit of water now and then, or whatever, but it cleans the air. Imagine is like, yeah, even well, in any room in which you are there, you're breathing, there are other people, whatever. Is like you need to clean that air now and then. That's not what we do. And if you open up the window, it doesn't help, because if they've been spraying outside, like Ronnie and I are having it, like your nose get blocked, and then you get a running nose, and you're tearing up your eyes, and you're sneezing like crazy. So that's not the way to clean your room. You see, it's like this might be a very natural and more easy way to do, is like put some of these plants in your home. Yeah. And
put them in the bathroom so you don't have to use these toxic air fresheners.
yeah. So that's what you could do.
Excellent. Glass bottle house. What's that about?
Well, here's a picture of that. And so the would look like transparent, but they're all bottles next to each other. So this is a mother and daughter duo who built a 7-room house out of 8,000 glass bottles, which they collected from their local beach in Brazil. So they found out is that, well, everything around there is like on the beach is like because of tourism. There are all these bottles. There's this waste. There is even recycled wood, all of these things. They decided to collect all of that, and especially those bottles, but also the wood and everything else. It took them 2 years to collect all of that stuff, and out of that, yeah, they built this house. It's a 7-room house, and I think it's, well, I'm not sure whether it's an Airbnb like whatever, but it's like, yeah, you can stay there in that house. So this is just what a mother and daughter did. Well, obviously over a multi-year project, but I think it's totally incredible. Yeah, so they did 2 things. Like they cleaned the beach and they made a house, yeah, out of that material. So I think it's incredible, totally incredible.
In a lot of places now, they're living in little sheds and everything. That looks lovely.
Yeah. I did, well, if you're interested, send ask us in the comments. I got other pictures with inside, whatever. It's like really, really, really cute, nice place. 7 rooms. Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
So this is one, just for the inspiration, is like parenting. Because a lot of times people are just handing the phone to the child and everything, just things that I'm doing. And I'll explain kind of what. One is like I did like the boxing. I taught him how to fight. And I basically said, defend yourself, protect your friends, but never bully. And he has done that. He has stepped in and protected people that he saw getting bullied. He defended himself, and he has never bullied somebody. So sometimes people, they go, oh, you shouldn't do martial arts, you shouldn't do this. I think when you do martial arts or anything, boxing or something like that, it trains you to be in control. And it's a good thing to have a thing. Games, like I play games all the time. I play Uno. Like even if people have, the budgets are, like 10 zloty sometimes to €5 for a card game of Uno. Like all games like that, we play chess, stuff like that. A child, like most people, they'll buy the remote control car. They get all the expensive gadgets and everything. You don't need to do it. The child wants you to spend time with them. You saw the meditation thing. I was teaching them that early. The breathing, control your breathing. You could see the picture there, like, because we're on Spotify, BitChute, YouTube, and Rumble as well for those that are watching. But basically, he's sitting there. I think he was about 4 there. He's in a Spider-Man outfit and he's meditating. And he's just calm. You can see he's calm. He doesn't lose the plot. And I think that's an important thing as well. And the other thing is, like, they're watching you. So I don't have road rage. I'm able to calm. He's in the car with me. He sees that. Whereas there's the opposite as well. If you're one of these people that lose the plot every time or cursing out when they're picking up on that. Just be aware of that. They're learning everything. You see that we're on a roller coaster. We know where the camera is. We joined this place. It's an indoor theme park with 2 or 3 roller coasters and a lot of different stuff. So a few years ago, we joined it for the year. Got a very good price. It was like less than $100 each for a year ticket. So we went, every 3 weeks or once a month. So we got good value for it. So we knew where the camera was. And it was just like we blocking his eyes, or I tell him, okay, close your eyes and go around the thing. Just different experiences as he was doing it. And it was very enjoyable. We were playing football all the time. We're just doing sport, ping pong, like a ping pong table, pool table. We got a combined thing, and that was the same. It was like just over €100. It's got pool, like billiards, a small, tiny ping pong table. We got a proper big one later when I realized he really liked that, and the foosball table. So you can get things like that, and not only can you play with them, but their friends can come in, and you know that they're safe then as well, and they're learning skills. They're like, we talked about loneliness earlier. Arnold was talking about loneliness. When somebody's got something like ping pong or whatever, they can invite friends over, they can have competitions, and they're actually having fun and engaging instead of thinking that I've seen kids that are in the same room and they're all just on their phones. They're even writing to each other. Don't do that. They no phones. Have them doing that. I get my son to clean the house with me. There was one stage I had somebody clean the house, and I said, "Look, we're cleaning the house." So I do the bathrooms in the kitchen. He mops and hoovers. I said, "This is our house. We look after it." He never has a problem with that. When I'm cooking, we go shopping together. So we're going around what we eat, and we're picking out the different food that we'll do. And like yesterday now, I did a chicken curry with chips. I do the chips and beef tallow. And he was cutting up the chicken and putting the spices on it. And a few times he's actually made me breakfast. So he's fully engaged. And I see so many people and they're trying to get their kids to eat. Oh, my child won't eat and everything. Get them involved in it. Get them to help you. Make it together. They will start eating when they're cooking with you.
Yeah, but even in that way, in a playful way, you teach them how to cook, because there are so many people who don't know how to cook. That's why they order all these ultra processed food, because they cannot even boil an egg. Is a bit like So in this playful way, as you just described, you can learn them and enjoy the cooking itself. My mother didn't, nor my father did teach me anything to cook. So what I did when I was 17, 18, whatever, it's like I followed the cooking course myself, because like I wanted to know how these things work. But they didn't teach me. But I would have preferred. Well, it didn't work in my household. But that's much nicer, because I listen to I like I'm totally impressed by chefs, these famous chefs or restaurants. What they do is like, with the creativity and the imagination and the hard work and every day something new, whatever. It's totally incredible. But all of them, when asked, is like, when did your love for cooking and being in the kitchen start? All of them mention is like, no, it was my grandmother who always cooked, or my mother who cooked, and then I was helping her, whatever. That's how their love for food and cooking and everything started. So that is so important for people. Huh?
And if we look at I don't know, maybe 20 years' time or 40 years' time, people won't be learning from their grandmothers, because their grandmothers will have fake lips, fake boobs, tattoos. They don't know how to cook. So we're going through some major transition with that. The other thing is, I encourage him. Like, I mean, I go on the phone to I'm a mummy's boy. I ring my mum a lot, but I make sure he's talking to my mum as well. I think we're keeping the connection, but also to his Polish grandparents and everything. Because a lot of times people, they don't engage with family. It's like sometimes, oh, I see him once, or twice, or in phone. They don't. And it's good to show closeness with family. And that's the important thing. Another one is, I was very shy when I was young. So I was late to the game, overcoming my fear of public speaking and everything. And I made sure he's not like that. So you go into a shop. If a child wants something, all right, you go up and ask for it. If you're in a restaurant, I want ketchup, okay, ask for the ketchup. Most parents, they do all that. They money cuddle their child and they do everything for them. And then they're wondering why their child is shy. Make sure that they're not.
Or even lonely, as we just said.
Exactly. It's a combination, and they're not able to communicate then as well, which encourage, it causes a knock-on effect. So we do a load of different things. It's just a little, just kind of a touch into my life and how I'm doing it. But he's such a beautiful child, but it's like, it's easy to do. It's easy not to do. You make a concrete effort to do all the different things. Nothing's hard. But when you actually have a plan on how you're going to make a better life, you have a better life, you have better relationships. So I encourage people to maybe take some of them ideas. So that's it, I believe, for this week. So thank you very much, Esteban. And as I mentioned earlier, you can go to donations. You can go awakeningpodcast.org/support. Help us with the show. And you can scan the QR code to find all the different things. Until next week, take care.